first question is, why do bad things happen to good people? That is not an easy question to answer. Rabbi Kushner wrote a book about that with that same title, Why Bad Things Happen to Good People. And it's interesting. The premise that he comes up with is one that he seems to say that God is limited in scope and power in God's ability to intervene with the world. And I'm not sure we quite go there as Christians, because we believe in Jesus Christ as the incarnation of God here active in the world. And so we wouldn't quite go to the same place that he goes. But as we look at this, we would say that free will, we believe God gives free will to all people, and that's restored to us through prevenient grace. And that answers a lot of questions on why bad things happen, is because people misuse free will. In Oklahoma, we can recognize that through Timothy McVeigh choosing to bomb in Oklahoma City, and all those innocent people died and suffered, and that was a misuse of his free will. So when it involves people, that seems to be a good part of the answer. When it involves other things, it's harder. So if you have someone come down with cancer who's been a good person all their life, that's a difficult thing to answer. So we have a harder time saying, why does that happen, and why are some people cured but not others? It's similar to the second question, why does God answer some prayers but not all prayers? And I would say that for prayer, a lot of this would be in alignment to God's will. And so you might pray for your team to win and they lost. And that may not be on God's radar as we look at what is in alignment with God's will. If you pray for a pony and you don't get the pony, or a metaphorical pony, whatever you might be looking for to make your life better, that also may not align with God's will. But praying for your grandmother to recover from cancer, that seems like it should align with God's will. And so those kind of things are more difficult. I would say that as human beings, we live in a world that we know is limited for us. We're finite, we're not infinite, we are not immortal, and at some point we'll all die. So no matter how many times you have a successful cure, we know that eventually something is going to get us. And as we think about timing, as we think about God being with us in all these things, it may be that rather than being healed physically from our infirmities, the better thing might be for us to be healed spiritually, be healed emotionally, to be made whole, to understand that we're not distant from God. Even as we step from the difficult thing of moving from the earthly life that we know to a spiritual plane of existence that is unknown to us. And so it finally comes down to the idea that prayer helps us to trust in God. And prayer should help us to continue to trust in God and to give us that sense of assurance and that sense of peace. Another question is, why do bad people seem to get away with doing bad things? Well, this seems to refer to the idea that sometimes we're punished legally, sometimes we're punished with things that happen as far as our consequences, natural consequences sometimes punish us. And sometimes it seems as if people get away without any kind of punishment, either from society or from a natural consequence. And why does that happen? Why is that allowed to occur? I would say that I doubt that anyone really gets away with anything. We're complex people, and when we do things that are not nice, that seems to resonate with us in a negative way. It can impact who you are. It can impact the sense of guilt you have. It can diminish the sense of peace you have about yourself. And for a person who is consistently doing bad things or harmful things to other people, I would say that they're probably in a pretty bad state themselves. And so it's really likely that they're not getting away with these things at all, but they're really suffering themselves. And so they're, in a sense, sharing their misery. What we have to come to a place for is understanding that as Christians, how do we help them receive forgiveness for their own lives and get to a better place of peace for themselves so that they don't harm other people. Do you believe in hell, and who goes there? Well, that's a tough question. I hearken back to The Simpsons, where Bart Simpson was asking his dad about hell, and he said, "Do dogs go to hell?" And his dad said, "Well, sure, I guess so." And he said, "Well, what dogs are in hell?" And his dad had to think about it. He said, "Well, Hitler's dog." It's harder to think about dogs going to hell, I think, than people, because dogs seem to be innocent to us in a lot of ways. People can seem to be quite awful in their lives and to do some awful, awful things that we say, well, that deserves hell. As you think about mathematics and equations, it doesn't seem mathematically just to put somebody in hell for eternity for something that they've done finitely here on earth. And so that doesn't seem to make God, in creating this whole system, just, is the argument against hell. I would say that I'm a proponent of free will, and so I would believe that free will continues from this lifetime into the next. And while some people choose to reject God while in their earthly life, I think that it's possible that they may choose to reject God in the next life or the afterlife. However, I don't think that God gives up on them. I don't think that the idea that they're eternally separated from God is something that God likes or wants or even puts up with. But I think that God continues to try to wear them down, and just like a rock that is eroded by the waves, eventually it falls into the sea. And I believe that eventually people will come to God's grace. And I think Paul argues for that in some sense of talking about God ultimately winning. And if God is omnipotent and in charge, in a sense, then God ultimately gets what God wants. And if God loves us, then God is going to receive us someday. So I would say, is hell possible? I would say in that sense, I would believe that that's what happens. And I say that some people may choose that for themselves and choose isolation rather than to be with God.